And then another thing that the law of one talks about is many people on Earth are not even actually at a third density level. They're only at a second density or orange ray level instead of the yellow ray level of third density. They're only at orange. Now, what does this mean? This means herd mentality, crowd consciousness, and the worship of they, whoever they are, whatever they say. And those people probably will not be capable of polarizing towards freedom. If you haven't really made it into third density yet, that means that you haven't learned individuation. You haven't learned to think for yourself, make up your own mind, and discard the voice of the collective authority. Okay, that's a basic criteria for third density. Because second density animals, they listen to the collective. They listen to what they say, whoever they is, or whoever they are.
This is the Freedom Unchained channel. This is a video of a longer video of David Wilcox that he did the other day, and I just wanted to share it with you guys because this is the reason I am doing this channel for everybody, is because we are in a war of good and evil, and it's kind of funny that the trolls think they are not enslaved, indoctrinated, bootlicking worshippers of the devil, as I would say it. But you know, that's calling them names, as I would say, and being childish, because we aren't in a war, but the tyrants are trying to enslave and control this world and take away what God has given us. Yeah, I'm the one that's ignorant and don't know what I'm talking about. But anyways, this is the reason I want to put this video out there for you guys, is because this is a lot about what this channel is all about. It is about law, and law is God. You know, how everything is created, which you can observe through science and mathematics. And if you actually understood what God was, you could understand what law is and understand how this world works and what the difference between right or wrong is, or good and bad is, and you could actually know what a court is. Because all a court is where men come together to determine who is correct. So I hope you guys like this video. Please subscribe to the channel if you're interested in being a free man of this world, and continue to help fight this war that we are in between good and evil. Please comment. Let's get a conversation started. If you are not a troll and you actually have something positive to contribute to the conversation, and let's also hit the bell notification so you can get further videos that I post. Here we go.
And so, for God's sake, folks, there's so many more of us than them. Stop being so afraid. They don't have the staff to lock everybody up. They don't have the staff to kill everybody. They don't. They don't have enough people. There's been way too many movies about atrocities and war and horrible things that have happened. It's inside everybody's mind. They don't want to perpetrate that. That's why you're seeing these remarkable events taking place where riot police dropping their shields, walking off the job. Multiple cases of this happening, which are being always stuffed down as soon as it takes place, right? You never get to see it again unless you're in these alternative platforms. That's all happening. That's real, okay? There's not enough people to fulfill the plan that these negative folks want to do. They just don't have the people. What they do have, however, is an incredible ability to control how you think and to manipulate the way that you perceive truth. Truth may not be true. And that's where you get the keyhole that you can start to look through and realize, wait a minute, everything I thought about life on Earth is frickin' wrong. The educational system is rigged. People are paying to get their kids into these Ivy League schools, right? That's one of the things we just learned in the last couple of years. The medical system might not be giving you things that are good for you. The media might not be giving things that are good for you. If you try to talk about certain things, you'll be completely prevented from doing so. And it goes on and on and on. And now people are really, really mad. They've gone from freeze to fight. And this is a global mass consciousness effect. And so now everybody's talking about this. And this is exactly what the higher beings designed. The entire 25,000-year cycle of life on Earth is intended for this big crisis that we're in right now to happen. I'm even going to make an audacious statement and say the only thing that really matters in your whole life is what you're doing right now. Because we're at the end. You had other times in the past to screw up, to fall off, to not get it right. Now you're either going to get it or you're not. Yeah, it's totally in the prophecies. That's, yes. Let's go back to the slide. I'll read you more of this prophecy. So it says the correct portion of your statements is the greater opportunity for service due to the many changes which offer many challenges, difficulties, and seeming distresses within your illusion. To many who will then seek to understand, if we may use this misnomer, the reason for the malfunctioning of the physical rhythms of their planet. And then it says, moreover, there exist probability, possibility, vortices. Remember, this is August 8th, 1981, which spiral towards your bellicose actions. Bellicose means evil, warlike, destructive, right? So there are these probability vortices. Many of these vortices are not of the nuclear war, but of a less annihilatory but more lengthy so-called conventional war. But it's not conventional, and they're going to explain that it's totally not conventional. This situation, if formed in your illusion, would offer many opportunities for seeking and for service. Then he says, how would conventional warfare offer the opportunities for seeking and service? Now look at this, folks. This is the big one. You ready? The probabilities exist for situations in which great portions of your continent, and this was done in America, great portions of America and the globe in general might be involved in a type of warfare which you might liken to guerrilla. So again, just to simplify that, great portions of your continent and the globe in general might be involved in a type of guerrilla warfare. I almost want to just drop the mic and be done right there, because it's like, dude, wow. Great portions, let's flip back on it for a second, please. Great portions of your continent and the globe in general might be involved in a type of this warfare. Okay, now you'd say, well, that sounds really exciting. But it's scary as hell. I mean, back when I first was reading The Law of One and I affiliated with Dr. Scott Manelker, who wrote the book on it that got me interested in it. His book was called From Elsewhere. We started talking about this. And then after 98, when book 5 finally came out and we read this, I said, good Lord. Dr. Manelker and I were talking about this prophecy, and we said, in case of emergency break glass, let's hope that this never comes true. If it does, I guess we'll talk about it once it does. Well, now it came true. So like the Law of One kind of said, yeah, there might be like a global guerrilla warfare thing that happens where your own country, America, is all tied up in this. But they said a type of this. What I've realized is, yeah, that is totally defined by the asymmetric dynamics of rioting. And who's really doing the rioting, and what are they really doing, right? And what are they doing? They're attacking infrastructure, they're burning down cities, they're making people afraid. That's guerrilla warfare. So they're using a particular term to try to describe something that we're now seeing, and now we can unlock the prophecy. Now we can understand what they meant by global warfare. And it's pretty clear that, yeah, that comparing it to guerrilla warfare, it sounds a little extreme because it's more aggressive than the way that we normally talk about, oh, well, they're riots, they're protests. No. These are like people burning things down, people doing all kinds of crazy stuff. That is warfare, and it's that type of warfare. Okay, now let's go back to the slide. So then they're going to go even further into this prophecy, and again, this totally blows me away in light of what's happening right now. The ideal of freedom from the so-called invading force of either the controlled fascism or the equally controlled social common ownership of all things. Freedom from fascism and social ownership of all things would stimulate great quantities of contemplation upon the great polarization implicit in the contrast between freedom and control. So right here, they're literally saying a global controlled fascism in the form of nonlinear guerrilla warfare that takes place all over the world and in America simultaneously. And this is, what is it going to do? It's going to stimulate people's desire to meditate on freedom and control. Yeah, you're stimulated by that. Well, that's what the beings really want. They want you to become a person who is strong, liberated, and free. And they want you to be a person who doesn't wait for other people Well, why hasn't David done a video in a month and a half? Well, where's your video? I don't usually do this to you, right? But like, let's just talk about this. Don't expect me to do everything, right? I'm not the hero. I'm just one dude doing this. I'm not the planetary savior in any way, shape, or form. And please don't think that I am. Anybody that says that, I say, oh my God, no. I'm more like Morpheus in the Matrix, right? And you're Neo. And so my role is really to kind of make the handshake with the higher forces, hear what they have to say, present it to you, and then you go run with it and see what you can do. That's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to get you activated, because this is not something where you just sit back in the backyard waiting for the apocalypse in your lawn chair, drinking a beer and whatever else you're doing. It's much more than that. It's about individual responsibility and how have you contributed to what's going on right now? Are you being an effective member of society? Are you telling other people what's really going on? Are you being brave enough? And again, it might be nonlinear. And they even talk about the fact here that this type of controlled fascism will lead to the ability where you can't openly express your desire for freedom. Look at this. Let's go back to the slide, because that's pretty interesting. Okay. So the next thing they talk about is these other weapons, and this is very, very interesting. Oops. Yeah, my slides go out right as I'm, here we go. Are they back now? Okay. In this scenario, which is being considered by the deep state at this time-space nexus, meaning 1981, so they were already planning this back in 81, folks, and there's new evidence that's been coming out that I could maybe do later that talks about that. The idea of obliterating valuable sites and personnel is not considered to be useful. They don't want to get rid of anything, and they don't want to get rid of any valuable people. Other weapons would be used which do not destroy as your nuclear arms would. In this ongoing struggle, the light of freedom would burn within the mind-body-spirit complexes who are capable of such polarization. And that's a very interesting thing. First of all, other weapons would be used which do not destroy as your nuclear arms would. And they said weapons in plural, right? Well, we're getting a pretty good idea what those kind of weapons might be. It could include germs, it could include injectables, all kinds of stuff, right? And we're seeing this. We're in it now. Well, they were telling us about this in 1981, and they said weapons plural. So this is very, very fascinating. When I look at the older demographic, the baby boomer demographic, and I was reading Nextdoor, a common, community site today, and there was a whole thing on Nextdoor about this issue of whether people are going to take this particular medical treatment or not. And what I found, and I decided not to use these as slides because it has people's names in it, and then they might get targeted, but my God, there were people on this public forum calling for the death of anyone that won't accept the treatment. That they are so afraid that they cannot tolerate these people being alive and having any freedom.
So if you're getting your ass kicked and you have no idea why your life sucks so much, it's probably because you were a real jerk in another lifetime.
And those people probably will not be capable of polarizing towards freedom. So let's go back to the slide. The light of freedom will burn in this struggle within those people who are capable of such polarization. So if you haven't really made it into third density yet, that means that you haven't learned individuation. You haven't learned to think for yourself, make up your own mind, and discard the voice of the collective authority. Okay, that's a basic criteria for third density. Because second density animals, they listen to the collective. They listen to what they say, whoever they is. Or whoever they are. Better English.
If they listen to what they say, whoever they is, or whoever they are, better English.
Why are we not seeing how effectively everyone's been lied to? Well, a lot of people are, but man, there are some people who are still totally asleep, and it's very sad and it's very scary to read them calling for the deaths of others who refuse to get this treatment. Haven't we learned anything from World War II? Haven't we learned anything from isolating a particular population whose opinions don't agree with the government and then demonizing them and trying to call for their mass extermination? This is not too uncommon, folks. It's the old playbook. And if you can't figure out that it's just a different name now, it's not Hebrew anymore, now it's something else, but it's a targeted group. Wow, I mean, these people are actually out there significantly calling for death, imprisonment, and the total loss of freedom for these people. And then you have the alleged leader of this country going out there, well, we're losing our patience with you. What? Who's we? And what? I mean, like, the thing that they've just done now, to me, is not about actually getting it to work, because they know it's not going to work. There's already like half of the states of America have definitively shown that they will not allow this to occur at the state government level, which they'll still try to get around that, of course. I mean, I was hearing about this. They're going to try to chop everything up into UN green zones, mandatory camps, mandatory injections, right? We've heard all this stuff. I've heard this from briefings, high-level briefings, that they're trying to get this to happen. Well, maybe we will. You never know. Let's see. That's Jen Psaki. Oh, you never know. We might try it. It's awful. I mean, I have to go through this. I have to watch this stuff just like you. But I guess one advantage I have is that I've seen these prophecies already. And then when these things come true, I was like, well, let's go back and look at that prophecy in the Law of One about global tyranny again. See what the hell it says. And it was much more precise than I could have ever imagined, right? So then they're actually saying other weapons, plural, will be used that do not create large spread damage. They just cause death, okay? And then the light of freedom will burn within those who are capable of feeling that desire. And that's another interesting comment, is that there are people who are not capable of freedom. They're not capable of wanting to be free. They can't. They are addicted to the collective. They worship mommy and daddy in the form of mommy and daddy government, mommy and daddy media, mommy and daddy, they who know everything and are trying to run the country. They don't have your interests in mind. They don't want to help you. They don't want to keep you safe. They don't want you to be free from sickness. They don't want to reduce your symptoms. They don't give a shit about you. They don't, and they never will. They only want you to serve them. That's what psychopaths do. They want to control you, they want to manipulate you, and they will laugh in your face as they lie to you, and you try to say, well, wait a minute, last week you said, I don't care. I don't care if I said before that we would never force this on you, that it's your body. I don't care. Now we're telling you something else. So now everybody is getting to have the gut bucket, knock down, drag out, dysfunctional relationship that really should have ended in divorce a long time ago, and why the hell are they still together? That's what we're in right now, an abusive, dysfunctional relationship where you are the victim and the abuser, the perpetrator, is the alleged elite. And it's become a very personal story that affects each of us. Will I continue to take this job if they're going to make me do this? And many people are now saying no. Over 70% of the polling data shows that people will leave. It could be a mass walkout. And that kind of Gandhi-level peaceful protest is the only thing I'm calling for. I am not calling for violence. I will never call for violence. I would disavow violence. I do disavow violence. Don't go to these protests. Don't bring any type of weapon at all, please. If you want to go to the protests at all, if you see anything happening you'd like to get involved in, don't bring anything with you that you could get in trouble for if you get arrested. And certainly, if you see any type of violence or weird, nasty stuff starting to happen, turn and run. Get away from that area as quickly as possible. And don't fall for this false stuff where they're trying to control and create the protest, right? They're telling you what day it's going to be on television. Oh, there's going to be a protest on September so-and-so. And, everybody's really mad about so-and-so, and they're all going to be out there demonstrating. That's not true. Nobody's going to this thing who's real. It's going to be completely a no-show, just like the other one was. But what is going to happen? The nonlinear stuff that the Law of One was talking about. That's what they're trying to do. The psychopath wants to punish you for standing up for yourself. If you're in a relationship with a psychopath, the one thing you never ever want to do is stand up for yourself. Because as soon as you do, they will smash you. Right? And that's what they're trying to do right now on a global level. We are trying to stand up for ourselves, and they're like, I am going to smash you. So what do they want to do? The psychopath always tries to trigger you. When you're in an abusive, really, really abusive relationship, thank God I'm not in any of these kind of situations anymore, but I was before. When you're in a really abusive relationship, the other party is trying to get you to do something unethical. They're trying to get you to say something unloving. They're trying to get you to get angry. They want you to go into a tantrum. They want you to start yelling. They want you to throw something. There's certain other things that they want you to do. It's unbelievable. The stuff that I've personally experienced, the stuff that people have personally said to me, the stuff that people have personally done to me, the level of unfairness, the level of sick insanity of this abuse. I've seen it. I've experienced it, okay? I'm a veteran of this. What do they try to do? They try to get you so mad that you go over the edge. You lose control. Now all you have is this tiny little brain in the middle of your head, the reptilian brain. That's all that's running. Your brain is shut down. And then they have everything but the frontal lobe, so they can drastically outthink you in these arguments. And you're going to lose. Because you go into dissociative state, trauma child, that's all you have. You can't think. You're fight or flight, and you're really angry, and you haven't lived in this persona long enough to actually have healed that inner child so that it's not angry when it comes out. So what are they doing now on a global level? They're trying to provoke, so that you're only in the middle of your brain. You can't think. You can't see through propaganda. You can't determine the truth. You can't determine whether they're being honest with you or not. But a lot of people will prefer to be abused. Because what does the abuser always do? And every person who's done this to me, this is what they do. It's so much worse. Your life is so much worse if you stand up for yourself, that the lesson is just don't. Just don't stand up for yourself. Don't take that step. Don't do anything. If you don't stand up for yourself, then you're allowing them to do whatever they want. And so I think an abusive relationship can be a great teacher if you get the resources in yourself to get out and to cut the cords and to leave that person behind. And so that psychodynamic of a personal relationship is totally relevant to the psychodynamics of our global relationship with the elite. Because we are in a dysfunctional relationship right now with psychopaths. But you could quantify it as if it's a psychopath. And that's how the universal law seems to work, right? So archetypally, meaning the archetypes are these gestalts of consciousness that we all have to follow, whether we realize it or not. The archetype that's going on right now is a very, very acrimonious divorce between the devil and God, if you really want to look at it that way, right? It's actually the fulfillment of biblical prophecy. And the way that it's manifesting is that we are in this relationship with a person, and I'll just quantify it as a person right for now to keep it easy, right? We are in a relationship with a person who appears to have power over us. They appear to be in control. They appear to be running the world. They appear to have control of the resources. They appear to have control of the media. They appear to have control of our money, of our health, of our ability to be alive. And they're manipulating this, and they're doing it abusively. They're lying to us. They're telling us things that are only halfway true, and then they just bulldoze over it. I don't care about lawsuits. I don't care if people are suing me. I don't care if I said it before. And then when they get questions asked to them, you see how they just dart off the stage, right? But this is happening. They keep getting these questions that they can't answer. Now, I do believe that the military from the U.S. and other countries in the world have planned for all this. I believe that everything that we're seeing is precisely structured. I believe that the election was meant to go the way that it did. It was allowed to go the way that it did, despite whatever you might think. We as a collective needed to see that inauguration. We needed to see this new government come in, and we needed to see how bad it is, and we needed to see how awful it is. There would be no mass awakening if 45 had won again and gotten a second term. Many people would have still disliked him. Many people would have still been addicted to that propaganda. Nothing would have ever convinced them except to actually see the earth fall apart or appear to be falling apart. That's why this was necessary. So there's a very complex plan in place. There are ongoing messages. There's ongoing massive amounts of data. And honestly, I would love to cover all this. But one of the things that you find out is that if you have a legacy, gigantic following like I do, they really, really don't like that. So I am not in a position to report on many things because we have, for example, if you look at what happened in Arizona, that team that was working in Arizona, over half of them got this weird virus that we've been talking about for the last 2 years. Over half of them simultaneously got it. I went to an event with Corey Good, and then after the event, Corey, his wife, and the high-level insider who we met with there, they all got a very severe case of this, and our high-level insider nearly died. So now what I'm looking at is the very distinct possibility that there's some sort of spritzy thing they've got, some sort of aerosol or something like that. They could maybe spray it on their hand, spray it in the air. They spray it around you, and then you get this thing. And that's what I think happened in Arizona, and that's what I think was happening at that conference that I went to. And so right now, it's a very scary time. One of the members of our community recently died after being on a nationwide tour talking about this stuff. All of a sudden, he gets this thing. All of a sudden, he goes to the hospital. They put him on a ventilator, and he died. So this is real. The stakes are very high. That's why we're really not going outside very much right now, and I'm not doing very much right now. Because look, I got all the time in the world. I'm not worried about the way this is going to work out. What I am worried about is whether enough of you are actually going to do your part and not just expect guys like me to continue risking our lives for you. It's a community thing. This is responsibility. I want you to take responsibility. I don't want you to tell me that I'm the problem. I don't want you to tell me that I haven't done enough for you. Okay? I want you to do enough for you. I want you to think about the idea that you are not powerless, that you have the power. You have the power to change. You have the power to transform this world. And don't undermine what you could do as one person, because single individuals have done incredible things on planet Earth. So let me read to you about these people who, it says again in the Law of One, that they cannot choose freedom. And I think this is a very important point. You might get angry that some people just went ahead with it. They went ahead and did it. And they're going along with all the stuff that they're being told. They can't. They can't be free. They can't think about freedom. They're not capable of it because the propaganda and the brainwashing is too deep. They grew up in it. They grew up with the big three, CBS, NBC, ABC. They grew up with Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Washington Post. Absolute credibility, man. That's it. It's the warmth of the parent. It's the security. And oh, well, you know, if my abusive parent tells me that I shouldn't be a bad boy by like talking about this stuff, I better do what they say. We so greatly outnumber them. This is ridiculous. It's ridiculous for them to think they can tell us how to behave. There's billions of us. There's very few of them. And no matter what they think they can get away with, they're not going to be able to do it. I've already told you, I believe it's mathematically impossible for this thing to work out in their favor. Literally, mathematically impossible. Okay? Let's go back to the quote now. Okay, so it says, the light of freedom would burn within those capable of such polarization, lacking the opportunity for the overt expression of the love of freedom, which is actually what's happening to me. I can't usually talk about this right now, right? I'm going to get censored. I'll lose my whole platform. Lacking the opportunity for the overt expression of the love of freedom, the seeking for inner knowledge will take root, aided by those of the brothers and sisters of sorrow who remember their calling upon this sphere. So that means brothers and sisters of sorrow, again, are wanderers, ET souls, probably like you. If you're a big fan of the stuff that I talk about, you're probably not a regular human being, because you get into this and you like this, whereas everybody else, you try to talk to them about it, they're like, oh. Freedom is a very difficult concept to envision. It's the freedom of thinking. It's the freedom to envision that the world is completely different than what you thought, that everything you thought you knew was wrong. That's a huge perceptual shift, and it is a necessary stage of awakening that we all have to go through, that the world is very, very different than what we've been told. Science is very, very different than what we've been told. Many, many pieces of this consciousness science, the idea that DNA is a product of intelligence that arises out of quantum mechanics itself. The DNA molecule is made by the intelligent laws implicit in quantum mechanics. We've had proof of this for a decade, 10 decades. Nobody ever is going to promote it because the press is controlled. They don't want you to know that you have a spirit. They don't want you to know that God is real. They don't want you to know that there is an afterlife, that you will never die, that you don't need to be afraid of your death. I mean, honestly, right now, the fourth density that's coming is a total reboot of the Earth, and they say in the Law of One that even people who died and are in the afterlife will come back into bodies when we go into 4D. If you lost your mother, if you lost your father, if you lost your brother, your sister, your wife, your husband, and you grieve about their loss, they're going to be back. You're going to see them in a new body when we go through this. That's what the prophecies tell us. No one is lost. No one is really dead. You're going to hang out with them in a physical body again. They might be in a different configuration, but that's what's going to happen. So the brothers and sisters of sorrow, when you can't overtly express the desire for freedom, it leads to the inner seeking. And so what they're actually doing right now is giving us some advice. And what they're saying is, yeah, you can't really talk about this stuff, and because you're going to get taken down in most of these platforms, but what you can do is encourage others to pursue spiritual growth, because that's really the core of what we're here for.
Alright, I hope you guys thought that was pretty interesting. I'll leave the link in the full video for David Wilcock's video where I got that clip from. You guys can watch the whole video if you wish to watch that. Check out the Law of One. Start learning what the Law of One is, because that's actually what God is. Religion is just a lie that the devil has co-opted to lie to you guys. And if you guys still believe in religious teachings, then you guys need to open your mind up and actually start learning what God is actually and what law is truly. I hope you guys subscribe to the channel. If you guys want more of this, leave a comment, hit the bell notification, the thumbs up, and like always, I'm going to leave you guys in the love and the light of the One Infinite Creator. Peace.